One thing I know about Aussies don't give a shit about stuff. Aussies are so understated. Like a volcano could erupt in the middle of Queen Street and someone would go, it's a bit hot. The day after 9/11, I'm in the plane, right? It was a storm and lightning hit the plane. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. It doesn't do anything to the plane, but it makes a massive bang. It sounds exactly like a bomb. We're on the plane, we all hear this. Everybody just went, oh. I look out, the wing's on fire. The bloke next to me looks at the wing, looks at me and goes, that doesn't look good. What do you reckon? The fucking wing's on fire. That's pretty shit in my books. I mean, of all the things you don't want to be on fire, wings would be number one. Captain's face, number two.
And that is the great Carl Barron, for anyone who's not familiar. I thought that was the way to start for tonight, or today, whether it's tonight, today, whatever. Thank you, BTTV. That's why I put the Carl Barron thing up. This is basically Aussies just don't give a shit. And, you know, if people are too blind to figure things out for themselves, whatever. Welcome in Ariel, welcome in Charlotte, BTTV, who else is here? Seal, Fred. I know I've missed some. Hugging Demons, Denise. Good to see people coming in. I went looking for updates for Parker this morning and there don't seem to be any updates, which we're a week on. It's 33 degrees there. It's a little bit alarming, a little bit disturbing. Welcome in, the Women's Warrior. Good to see you here. Just talking about Parker and no updates, nothing going on. I did read through an article last night, and they've had all manner of things in terms of searching. Someone asked yesterday about underwater ROVs, and yes, they did use underwater ROVs. Thankfully, we have Charlotte here who knows the area and was able to clarify that the creek or the river or whatever it was is really not so deep through there. They've been through all of that. So I just hope that that's right. That's where I saw it. It was the fire department's page, and they had a whole bunch of things. Hang on, give me half a moment. Okay, I'm not going to put this up on screen because I'm just reading it off my phone. So this is from the City of Calgary Fire Department. It empties into the Bow River around the zoo area. How far is that from where he was last seen? Because you're saying zoo and water, and we're talking about an autistic boy. Let me see. I don't think they've said what sort of ROV they've used. So this is from the fire department. Since July 17, we've been assisting Calgary Police Service in the search for Parker by deploying specialised teams and equipment to areas that can be difficult or unsafe to access. Our aquatics rescue team has spent many hours searching Nose Creek, nearby ponds and surrounding waterways using inflatable boats, underwater cameras, and coordinated in-water techniques. Our technical rescue team has also searched confined spaces using storm sewer infrastructure, using specialised equipment and training. Firefighters from local stations have supported ground searches in alleyways, parks, and other natural areas. We will continue to support CPS with these specialised resources for as long as needed. I think, nope, that's all it says. But I did read somewhere that they had like ROVs as well. Several kilometres from there. Okay, it seems like he's in that one area, doesn't it? It doesn't seem like he's I just hope if he's hunkered down somewhere that he's hunkered down somewhere where he can get water at the very least. Because it's been a week. It's so concerning. It's really not looking good. You know, I've gotten into that routine of you head to bed and you go and you look on the Facebook pages to see if there's an update that you've missed. And then, like, you know, my old dog needs to go out several times before she settles. And so, you know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm again checking for updates. And then the first thing I do when I get up is checking for updates. Cool. It took you about 6 hours. He wouldn't have continued. Like, it was a hot day the day he went missing, wasn't it? So there's no way he would have continued going much further than where he was. And I think the fact that he was looping around that area, he's got to be in there somewhere. I don't know if Texas EquiSearch have got anything more equipment-wise than what they've got. But, again, I wish they'd get Texas EquiSearch in. You know, Tim, Dave, Twyla, they'd be on a plane in a flash. Yeah. So according to the police, he can turn on a tap. He can, if he's in a house, he can get water. Could you just drop me that name in my email so that I can look that up? You know what I'm like. I love looking up stuff like that. I can never help myself. Well, that's always one of the concerns, isn't it? I think every one of us who have followed the Michael Vaughan case has had that at the back of our minds. Because that's what happened with little Monkey Vaughan, Michael Vaughan. Yeah, that's cool. They've said, hang on, I'll put that up for a sec. They've said that they've got quite a bit of footage, but a lot of it is too blurry to release to the public. So how much they've got, we don't know. But it certainly seems like they've got a bit. Sorry, yawning again. It certainly seems like they've got a bit from that area where he lived around. And they must have a bit to have been able to figure out most of his route. Yeah. So most of it's not useful, but they have got hundreds of hours worth. What they've released to the public is basically the best of what they've got, essentially. I'll just bring this back up. So I'll pull this down for a sec. So this is confirmed route, double back route, and a believed route. Well, you would think in terms of the believed route, that's not so significant anyway, because we know his last recorded movements. Wouldn't it be great if they could just find him? I mean, where was he trying to get to? Yeah, they've clearly got nothing at all that would indicate it being criminal. They're just, desperate to find him, which is completely and utterly understandable. This is just one of those cases where you just think this kid's out here somewhere. I had, yeah, where did the camera stop registering the boys' movements? Because, again, it takes me back to Michael Vaughan. We have him looping an area and now there's no sign of him. He lives in Edgemont on the other side of Nose Hill Park. He got lost. I agree with you. I had wondered where he lived, because it certainly looks like he had a fair idea of where he wanted to go. Welcome into Anise. I'm not sure which part to say, but welcome in. Yeah, he definitely had an idea of where he wanted to go, because he made a really direct route, and then he got to that one area and looped. I really hope he's hidden out in a building somewhere. I really, really do. Oh, and I meant to look up. Dang it! I made a note yesterday to look it up, and I forgot. I think you mentioned, Charlotte, a bracelet or something that was available for like autistic children and stuff like that. Yeah. Children, or, so long as he's got water, he's fine. Maybe if there's food in the building as well, we can just hope that's the situation. Boys are going to have a lot to answer for. And what got me angry was their statement that they put out where they're saying that, they followed protocols, and as soon as they realised who was missing, they were following protocols, yada, yada, yada. But when you look at the press release, we know it took them half an hour to realise he was gone. And the police have also asked for anyone who might have been away on holiday, if they had their RV at home and they've gone and put it back in storage, to go and check that. Just really, really hoping. Yeah, same here. 7 days feels like a long time, but at the same time, if he's holed away somewhere and he's got water, it's still, we can still be hopeful. Welcome in, Shirkers. Good to see you here. Half an hour really is bad. When you're talking about a situation where you are caring for an autistic child who is non-verbal, and when you spot on, Grover, the first couple of hours are critical. I mean, this kid moves. That first half hour, he was already halfway across town. So there needs to be some serious changes made, and there needs to be some accountability. Welcome. Did I just say welcome in, Artemisa? I probably did. Sorry. Another one of those nights where I didn't get a lot of sleep. I think any sort of day home now should be mandatory for alarms to be on the doors. It should be secure enough. Welcome in, Deborah. Good to see you. That's the biggest thing that I'm struggling with this. Thinking about the fact that it took them half an hour to figure out that he wasn't there. They should lose their license for starters, or at the very least, right now, their license should be suspended. I know, all the authorities are going, let's just concentrate on Parker right now. Let's concentrate on Parker. That's well and good. But if this home is still caring for children while this is going on, then they should not have any children in that facility until some major changes have been made. Yeah. Supposed to have a license for caring with children with disabilities. Well, Autism 101. If they get it in their head that they're going for some reason, they're going to go. Like, it's just incomprehensible for me. Oops. Thank you for the Jules Sparkles, Donna Williams. Definitely. And I actually think the whole organisation, because they've got several different houses across, I think they've got like 3 or 4 different houses around Calgary. So it might hit them hard, but I think they need to have their license suspended until there's some answers given, until they know what went wrong and until they can fix it. It's a private facility. You'd think they had cameras, but that they should at the very least have pin pads and alarms on all the doors. It seems to me that their training is woefully inadequate. Either that or they're woefully understaffed. Because if you are running one of these homes and you're looking after children with disabilities, if you have to suddenly spend time caring for one child that maybe needs changing or cleaning up or something, then there still need to be enough staff who can keep an eye on the other children. Yeah, what are those trackers called again, CB? Because someone mentioned those, and I think they are available for like autistic children and that sort of thing. Yep. Exactly. Nobody was watching him. And, you know, when we're talking about them taking half an hour to figure out he was not there, we're talking about a building that is converted from a house. It's not like we're talking about an entire school full of children or, you know, a massive building with like multiple rooms. This is a converted house. It's not that big. It's unreal. There needs to be accountability for this. Definitely. Someone needs to be held accountable. And what someone said up here, definitely. If they are found negligent, there needs to be criminal charges against the management and the owners and quite possibly staff. That's a good question. I think these days the trend seems to be, doesn't it, to have private organisations that can be given funding from the government. Welcome in, Angelina. Yeah. And that's when you start having issues like this happen. It's, you know, this should have never happened. And if Parker's not found, or if he's found too late, there really needs to be accountability. That's the thing. They charge him a fine. they don't notice the cost and they carry on just as usual. Yeah. You see that everywhere in Australia. You get the cutting of costs as well. When you've got children like Parker who should have one-on-one attention, but there's not enough funding to provide that. Welcome in, Ernestine. Yeah, 8 days. I really thought they would have found him by now. Oh, yeah, look, I could imagine the workers would feel terrible. But there's certainly a failure here. And that's the biggest concern, isn't it? How did the failure happen? Okay, let's get back to talking about Daniel. Actually, before I do, whoops, it's sad. Before I do, for those of you who are members, I am hoping to maybe do a members live stream this evening my time. Just talk about some projects and things behind the scenes. Just a kind of a more casual, relaxed kind of chat that's not necessarily all case related. Well, that's a good question. I mean, we've been given that time frame of half an hour, but that doesn't mean that it definitely was, does it? I mean, if you've screwed up big time, then you might want to narrow down that time frame. Good question. Certainly worth asking. And I really hope that regardless of the outcome, that there's going to be an inquiry into this, that they're going to ask for answers. And speaking of inquiries, I've got an update with Kumanjayi little baby. So there's I think it's like an interim report kind of thing. Obviously, there'll be a bigger report, but there is an interim report that's apparently mentioning lots and lots and lots of failures. So far, I've seen news reports of it, but I'm trying to find the actual copy of the report. I'm not sure if I will, but I'm trying to. Yep. Exactly. This tells us so much, doesn't it? We're getting daily updates because it's not criminal with Parker. Oh, my favourite. Although, no, not quite my favourite. My favourite is the Daryl Lee licorice with the chocolate on the outside. That's like, yeah. That's how it should be. Like, keep the independence, allow them independence, but make sure that there's ways of keeping them safe. I really hope that at the very least there's going to be some changes made as a result of this. There needs to be definitely a review of the alert system, because 48 hours is far too long. They knew that he was on the move the moment one of those workers from the house called 911. They knew that he was at risk. So there needs to be a system where, for a child like Parker, as soon as it gets in the system, there needs to be like a non-intrusive alert go out. I mean, when you think about it, you have the footage of him walking down the road, and there's someone in a vehicle parking as he walks past. Now, if that had been after the period of time when the day home realised who was missing and an alert had gone out, straight up, they would have known which area he was in. I thought I occasionally get confused because we're like 14 hours ahead here. So my brain, when I read that it was the Thursday that he went missing, my brain was doing the translation to that it must have been like Friday and that they were reporting it on Saturday. My brain was just getting all confused because of the confusion with days anyway. And then when I actually stopped and thought about it, and then they actually said that it had been 48 hours, I was like, how is that possible? I agree. I think it needs to be a vulnerable missing persons alert. And I think in terms of criteria, a situation like this should be an immediate alert. I mean, they've already got it set up for intrusive and non-intrusive. So again, you got the argument coming out of, oh well, people get immune to these alerts if they come out. Well, they get alerted. So it's about getting that balance. Now, obviously, if you've got a kid who's gone to play at the park with their friends and they're half an hour late getting home, you're not going to put an intrusive alert out there. But we're talking about a definite missing child. They knew the moment that they rang 911 that he was at risk, that he was on the move, and that he was definitely missing and definitely needed to be found. You know, it should be, in cases like this, it should be straight away. Yeah, so most of the sightings were within 2 to 3 hours. What time was the last sighting? It was after 12. They could call it a walkabout alert. That is so true. In Australia, they could call it a walkabout alert. Although I think everyone here now understands BOLO. It's too long with special needs children. And you just have to look at the map to see that he was already miles away within 40 minutes. Its last sighting was before 2 p.m. Yeah, see, If they had a system, if they had a vulnerable missing persons alert, people could have been keeping an eye out for him before he went to ground, before that last sighting. Yeah. Exactly. I'm sure Parker's parents would agree. I think there's a lot of families who would agree. I mean, he shouldn't be missing. He shouldn't have got out of that home. That's the biggest screw up on the planet. But this is a classic example of why there needs to be a vulnerable missing persons alert throughout Canada. That they notified the public of Lily and Jack being missing within a few hours of them going missing. They got a vulnerable missing persons alert out at 4:55 in the afternoon, the same day that they were reported missing. But for Parker, the only option they had was the Amber Alert, and he didn't qualify for that, so it took 48 hours to get special permission from the government. That doesn't do anything. Not when the last sighting of him was within 3 hours. Exactly. Oh yeah. And also because that's your community. We had things going out with Layla, just, saying that she was missing. And her father had posted on one of the community pages that he was trying to get a lift to Donald because his daughter was missing. Oh, thank you very much, Anise. Very much appreciated. So very much appreciated. So, and, we also knew that they'd found Layla before it was publicly announced because of community pages. That's the other thing too. I think Canada needs to do the same as America and publish the location of those sort of offenders. Yeah, how hard is that? I mean, we're wired these days that if you get a message on your phone, you're at least going to look and see what it is. You might not necessarily have time to read it, but you're going to glance and see what it is. I just think this argument of people are going to become too desensitized, I think that's just an excuse. We do. And I am working on just putting together all my research now to put it into a logical document to try and get something up on change.org. Basically trying to get something like this happening. I've been kind of working on that, communicating back and forth with people in the Donald area, like the mayor of the Shire, people like that, to do with a project to do with Layla, which I'll talk about in my members live stream. But yeah, we need a change.org for Parker's Law. There's got to be a change. This can't happen again. We hear that too. Seems like the media. Well, I love that the media in Canada have this the ethics in journalism or something that they follow. That doesn't happen here in Australia. Journalists here, they don't care if a story is not accurate, if a story is not truthful. They don't care. They'll publish it anyway. In fact, it seems that the approach in Australia is the main goal of publishing any articles is to get as many views or sales as possible. That would be a really good idea. I'd certainly be up for that. It would be pretty cool to see people who are in true crime, who've covered so many cases, team up in a way like that, where they did look at changes that need to occur. Welcome in, Ange. Yeah, we'll continue that conversation later on, I think after the live, because I definitely like that idea. Because I think too, the advantage of talking about cases like this online is that we are coming at it from the perspective of people from different countries. So I've learned so much about, child protection in America, in Canada, and I can compare that with what happens in Australia. And I think it's something that people like myself who have channels and cover cases from different areas certainly have. We're in a unique position to make changes. The playbook is the same. Definitely the playbook is the same. That's for sure. I definitely like what you are thinking. And yeah, we'll have to nut this out a bit more off air, essentially. Figure out what that would look like. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, because when it comes to, like, with this change.org that I'm working on for Parker, thankfully I had Charlotte email me a lot of things in connection with the area to help me out. Because it's a lot of work for one person to do on their own if you're trying to put together something like a thing to put on change.org. So, if there was like a community of people working on things like that, yes, Kylie didn't get one either. They're like, well, she's not eligible for a Amber Alert. Although sadly in Kylie's case, any sightings would have been ignored. I mean, you look at some of the sightings that were reported, that sounds so much like they had to have been Kylie and Kylie's vehicle. Or perhaps on around the 17th, Sammy in Kylie's vehicle. And hey, come at me if you like, anyone out there. But all of those just got disregarded. The vehicle, and there's so much of the gaslighting online too. That sighting of the vehicle at the gated community, and the audio, the dispatch specifically said errant plates, meaning the plates that were on the vehicle, which was described as Kylie's vehicle, were not the plates that belonged on that vehicle, and they belonged on a blue SUV, I think it was. And yet people still turned around and said, no, see, it wasn't Kylie's vehicle because the registration came back as a blue SUV. But you listen and it said errant plates quite clearly. Yeah. But, money talks. Arrow Creek, that's it. Missing person. The match was the vehicle. The plates were errant plates belonging to a different vehicle. But that got disregarded. You can track it. That vehicle did not go into that water until after the 17th. People can call me a crazy. People can call me a conspiracy theorist. But there are far too many things that point to the fact that that vehicle did not go into the reservoir on the night that Kylie went missing. But, children from families with money and influence, sorry, I get very... Kylie's the reason I've got my channel. Kylie's the reason why I will not be forced off YouTube by other content creators. BTTV knows what I'm talking about there in terms of why, but I'm here until there's justice for Kylie. I may not talk about her case every day, but you know, people want to try and force me off YouTube. They want to try and shut me down. Well, there is, let me find, and you know, I keep a lot of Kylie's stuff on my computer. I don't always come back to it, but just bear with me for just a minute. I'm just scrolling through. It's going to be down the bottom here. This is the reason I'm on YouTube. This is the reason I am staying on YouTube. And this is the reason I don't give a rat's ass what sort of slur campaign happens. I don't give a rat's ass what sort of rumors get put out there or stories get put out there. This is me. Take it or leave it. I'm not going anywhere. And I mean, I look at Maddie's case. She didn't get justice. I'm not shutting up about Maddie. I'm not shutting up about Kylie. I'm not shutting up about Lily and Jack. So, yeah, anyway. Yeah, me too. Yeah, if it was about the money, I would have quit by now. I'd be doing something else. Oh, yeah, totally. 100%. I'll just say it, you know, kiss my ass. Because this is why I'm here. Okay, let's have just something to just lighten the mood a little bit.
So tall, the cars are parked and watching me, they all they speed away when I step out the door. They take my pics and videos galore. Drones are buzzing high above my place, yet none appear online to show their face. No one sees my mom making the ground, just silent lights without a sound. It's like cosmos
Okay. Now I'm ready to move on. Not move on, like forget about things, but now I'm able to focus again.
Yeah.
Because I heard
Okay, so I should have actually left a little bit more of the audio in from yesterday, because this is still him talking about Malaya. So, what was going on with what he was saying yesterday? It was that circling around, just the real hinting at really bad things about Malaya. And I think part of it was stalling while he was trying to figure out what he could get away with saying and figure out what he could make up. But a lot of it was that manipulation thing of circling around it to just try and convince people that what he was saying was just so bad. Since we are just doing the kiss my ass thing, I'm just going to, just for one moment, since it came up full screen anyway. So there you go, kiss my ass. Okay, put that back out of the way. Like Sean Bean. That's what needs to be in places like a lock in the homes and things. I'm just gobsmacked by the stupidity of some people. Anyway, so yeah, Daniel was warming up. He was circling around trying to convince people that Malaya is like really bad. And then, of course, he had to do a dash to the toilet. So going on from there.
Yeah, I'm back now. Yeah.
because I heard Anita also make a comment that Malaya, like it's kind of like someone that has like a up and down personality. That she said she could be like really dark,
Yeah, extremely out of nowhere.
and but so as a and just honestly, as a mother, would you deem Leia as a decent mother, or that was she just going through issues and wasn't taking care of the kids to properly?
We started to run, and I'll go from the start here. First of all, I'm not here to bash Malaya.
Oh, BS, Daniel. Of course you are here to bash Malaya. You're here to do anything in your power to make yourself look better, including trashing Malaya. Oh, I know, Fred, it's just ridiculous. So people out there with really dark souls, in my opinion, I just think, what sort of people are they? It's the only way I can look at it. And I think, thank God I'm not like that. I would never put aside my integrity. I would never. They are dark souls, very dark souls. Oh, I know. I love these pictures. My only concern with this one, with Lily on the bike, is that she's got no idea that he's there. Jack's just ambling along. He's not even paying attention to her. Like, totally, both of them in their own world. And that could have ended really badly for Jack if she lost her balance. I can see there are training wheels on it, but even still, one little tilt. Oh my gosh. There was a post that Belinda put up as well. She is pretty cool little bike with a little tassels and things on there, and her little helmet. I'm just trying to think. Belinda put a post up that I did want to. Sorry, I'm going sideways again, but I'm just trying to find, because people have been giving Belinda and Chelsea shit. Yeah, there's a few photos that you definitely see a bit of a redhead thing going on with Jack. Which kind of makes sense. Doesn't come from Malaya's side of the family. Okay, I'll just try and find, I want to, if I've got it, I want to read what Belinda wrote. It's possible that I may not have. Okay, I'm going to read this because my thoughts are Belinda's grandchildren are truly blessed. And it makes me angry the way some people have treated her. And going to the situation of Malaya leaving and not allowing Belinda to see her grandchildren, that's not on Belinda. Belinda made the right choice in the situation. What do you think would have happened had she pushed to try and see her grandchildren? It wouldn't have meant that she got to see them. Daniel would have twisted it back on Malaya and used it as proof that she shouldn't allow the children to be seen by Belinda. And Malaya, it just would have made the situation worse. And it also would have removed the possibility of later making repairs. But people don't understand that. Because when someone is in a situation where they're being isolated from family and friends, you can't change that. All you can do is make sure that you don't shut that gate for that time when they do need you. And that's something that clearly Belinda understood. Maybe she didn't understand it in such clear terms, but she thought she was doing the right thing, and she was. And yet people still come at her. So I want to read this. I've been thinking about what it means to be a grandmother. I've heard many criticisms from some strangers over my role as Lily and Jack's grandparent. And it started me thinking, what role does a grandparent play? As a parent, I did my best, and when times got difficult, I sought professional help. I made many mistakes and did my best to correct them. I'm human, and at the end of the day, I know I love my children, and that will never change. And hey, we don't know anything about Cody, but we know Chaucer's turned out pretty damn awesome. Welcoming Fed Income. Becoming a grandparent, I thought, was so much easier. The pressures of parenting weren't there. You only felt the love. You had visits where you got to spoil and enjoy their childlike ways. You had the chance to show them the softer side of life. You give them sweet memories to hold on to. And she gave Lily and Jack all this. I love my grandchildren, and I know in their hearts they felt that love. I don't know what being a grandparent means to everyone else, but to me, it was being able to love without the pressures of being a parent. And I think if anyone's got any doubts, then they need to examine themselves, not Belinda. She was in an awful situation. And she made the only choice that was possible. The choice that was basically best for Malaya, best for the children. Because let's say, even if she managed to convince Malaya to allow her access, that wouldn't have lasted. Because the first couple of times, Daniel would have found something to criticise. And he would have gradually worked on convincing Malaya that it was bad for the children somehow. Because that's how coercive control works. The fact that he still has to come out, his relationship with Malaya is over. And yet he's still coming out, trying to throw as much crap on Cody as possible because of his own insecurities. Anna or Annie or Anne or whatever you want to call yourself, he's a grown adult. She gave him a home when he lost his job and he lost his car. You can only do so much for adults, for your children as adults. Because they've got to come to the party too. They've got to want to be helped. And I think without knowing the full situation, and honestly, I really don't want to know the full situation because Cody had nothing to do with the disappearance of the children. And I don't want to see him being a target for the sort of evil people that have attached themselves to this case. Yeah. Jack looked like his grandmother, who he's named after. There's yeah, no, I shouldn't comment on other family appearances there, but yeah. Okay, moving on from that. But yeah, I see similarities between Jack and people in their family, or children more specifically. Yep. And Cody's none of our business. Cody's got nothing to do with this case. People make presumptions about Cody. But they would be wrong. Anyway, let's keep going with Daniel. Sorry, I just having one of those days. I need to just get that soapbox right out of the room. Whoops, that's not what I...
To make Malaya seem like a bad person. These are strictly the facts.
I was going to say, just facts.
Yeah, these are the facts, and they're undisputable facts. They're undisputable facts. Right?
I wonder if he understands the meaning of indisputable and facts. Good to see you here, Denise. You certainly have to wonder. You really do. It's a shame that there isn't a law like that all around. Oh, yeah, now that does ring a bell, Jack. I remember Belinda saying Jack is like his grandfather. Gotcha. But that's interesting when I look at the red hair's got to come from like Belinda's side, though, surely. Anyway, well, it could have been Jackie. And you go with Jack. Yeah, wouldn't it be great if everywhere there were grandparents' rights? And maybe that's something that needs to be pushed for in Canada. Yeah, why does he do that? Right, Belinda's late husband, who he's named after. No, but he's not Belinda's husband, who was on the boat that went missing, isn't Cody's father. If that's... I wasn't aware. The Belinda's husband who went missing on the boat is Chouse's father. Yeah, Jimmy Gray technically isn't Jack's grandfather. Jimmy Gray was Chouse's father, but not Cody's. Hence Cody's last name is Sullivan. And yeah, that's why I'm like, I think the red hair definitely has to come from Belinda's side of the family. Anyway, yeah, look, Cody had to do what was right for him at the time. I know Belinda disagrees with what he chose. I kind of get where I see both sides. Yeah, so Cody's father, he must be named after. But I think that kind of gingery colour, I think that comes from Belinda's side. I can imagine Belinda or Chelsea listening to this afterwards and being like, oh, Ninchi, just, that's enough. Get back in your box. Anyway. And that's what's at the heart of it, isn't it? When a parent can say they disagree with their child, but they still love them. She gave him a home. Some parents would be like, well, tough. Go sleep on someone's couch somewhere. I've got no problem chatting about this, but I've just got to be really cautious when it comes to conversations that I've had that aren't case related, that are things that I don't need to bring out in public, or, things like that. So it's more me just trying to make sure that I'm sticking with publicly known information, if that makes sense. And I know we get cranky with content creators who have conversations with Daniel and Malaya and Janie and that behind the scenes and are like, oh, I have these big secrets. But that's not the way it should be with people who are not part of the actual disappearance. Any private conversations that I've had in the background have nothing to do with Jack and Lily. Oh, honestly, I would have loved to have had a grandmother like Belinda. I would have loved to have had a mother like Belinda. I'd adopt Chaucer as a sister any day. Although she's a Virgo as well, so two Virgos could be a bit fiery, a bit frightening for everyone else around. But yeah, Belinda is one of a kind. Well, probably, I mean, there's a lot of good grandmothers out there. I shouldn't say that, but she, you know, anyway, I'm going to get emotional because I think we all see how much Belinda loves these children. And I got totally off track, but sometimes it's good to go off track and talk about some of the important things. So people have forgotten. That's why I played that clip the other day of Justin, where he was talking about how, you know, it was important to be still talking about Lily and Jack, and he got choked up. And I was saying they're the content creators that people need to be watching. Because, honestly, some people have shown their true colours. And they never, ever were in this for Lily and Jack. Oh, I know. Honestly, if Belinda ever wanted to travel to Australia, there's always somewhere for her to stay. She's always welcome here. Same with Chaucer, of course. Because it's so nice, isn't it, when we're going through audio to... It was just like a weight being lifted when we were listening to that Hidden in the Fog conversation between Belinda and Susan. It was just so nice to have a break from Janie and Daniel. Because it is. There's just something about listening to Belinda talking about stuff. You know, you can hear the person that she is. You don't hear that with Janie or Daniel. Sorry, just had to lighten the mood a bit there. Okay, so we've got Daniel here bad-mouthing Malaya. So let's hear some more of that, which is so annoying.
Right. These are facts where they're concrete. They come from my personal experience. Right. So I seen what I seen, I heard what I heard, and I felt what I felt. And
Did anyone suddenly have a Dr. Seuss book in their head? Because I think Daniel needs his own Dr. Seuss book. This is word salad. He's not saying anything concrete. And BS like that is nothing more than Dr. Seuss crap. Not that Dr. Seuss is crap. We love Dr. Seuss. But honestly,
These memories are etched in my mind for the rest of time. So me and Malaya's relationship started off very well. She had this issue where it was Cody did this to me, Cody did that, Cody, right?
Yeah.
And that went on for like, I don't know how long, almost a year at the start.
and this is what I was just referring to before, Daniel feeling insecure, even though Cody's not a part of Malaya's life. Malaya's not a part of Daniel's life. But Daniel still feels so insecure about Cody that he's still got to come and crap all over him. And I'm sorry, but I take everything that Daniel says with a grain of salt. And I probably should put Sonny's ticker back up again. Yeah, he's a poet and he doesn't know it.
It was like she was so traumatized from Cody that it left this imprint on her that, and I mean, Cindy was the same way. All she did was talk about Cody, and it was like Cody was a big part of Malaya's life, right? In a good way or a bad way, I don't know, right?
He does. He's so threatened by Cody. If Cody was really this person that Daniel's trying to portray, he wouldn't feel threatened. There's clearly something about Cody that makes Daniel feel a little bit insecure. That makes Daniel feel that maybe he's second best. Because, yeah, sure, people get hung up over ex-girlfriends and ex-boyfriends when they get in a relationship with someone. But that gets forgotten pretty quickly. And when the relationship's over, you tend not to dwell on it. Like, seriously. Whoops. That seems to be quite common in Nova Scotia. You hear it from a lot of people. So I think it's more about it being an accepted part of speech in Nova Scotia for a lot of people, that they say I seen something instead of I saw it. So as much as I would like to crap on Daniel for that, I do think it is part of the local linguistics. I don't know if everyone in Nova Scotia speaks that way, but I've certainly come across it quite a lot. So I think it is just a part of the normal linguistics in. I'll throw out Canada, not just Nova Scotia. You get that. You get variations in you get these little linguistic quirks in places. So like here in Australia, that would have been one of the things that when I was growing up, my grandmother would have always corrected me on. But look, My grandmother, when we were little, always corrected our grammar. Always. And I struggle, like you, when I hear something that is not grammatically correct in the way that I've been taught. But as someone also who has studied languages, when I did my first university degree, I majored in Japanese, and I've studied Latin, Attic Greek, Spanish. So I understand the linguistic side of it, but I understand where you're coming from as well, because I had it drummed into me as a child. Like, anytime you said something the wrong way, grandma would have corrected you straight away. So I can see both sides. It's a Northern England thing, yeah. Yep. Yep. So true, so true. I think a lot of us probably had parents or grandparents who and that's the thing. It's about how you're expressing your opinion, and it's about being respectful at the end of the day. I would love to heap crap on Daniel, but I'm not going to heap crap on him over something that is regional. That would mean that I was heaping crap on other people who don't deserve it. I mean, you know, people could heap crap on me because I have an Australian accent. And I know there are things that I say differently here. I mean, I know that for me, when I hear Americans talk about a route, it does my head in, because we call it a route. And it took me years of watching American television to figure out what aluminum was. Because here in Australia, there's more vowels. It's aluminium. And, you know, Americans could take the mickey out of me because I say root and aluminium. But then to me, when I hear route and aluminum, like I said, I couldn't even figure out what aluminum was for many, many years. Anyway, moving on, but I thought it was just something that was worth commenting on. Yeah, that's the irony though, isn't it? He's still got his $1 million words, the $5 words that he comes out with. So true. Oh yeah. I mean, if you've seen the fairy bread saga that's going on TikTok at the moment, people in Australia getting offended at people overseas for making fairy bread and completely effing it up, and people overseas going, why are Australians getting so upset over people effing up how to make fairy bread? Welcome in, Brookie. Do you know where your children are? 11 p.m. question. Yep. You get that? I still get trolls who come in and say, oh, we can't understand you. And maybe it is just because they're not used to an Australian accent. I know there are some accents that I struggle with, but oh, it's a 90s news broadcast. I was trying to figure out what that comment was. But yeah, you know, we're all different, and that's what makes us unique. Yeah, Daniel's got plenty of character flaws that we can focus on, that's for sure. Oh, how cool. When I started high school, the only languages on offer were French and French. And if you wanted to do a different language in grade 9, you could do German. And then they finally introduced Japanese when I was in grade 9. Bearing in mind that in Australia, we are a long way from France and Germany. Whereas we have the Pacific Islands and Japan and China, Indonesia, much closer. But it was this classic thing of we want people in Australia to learn French because that's traditionally what is taught. Yeah, well, despite what Pauline Hanson would like people to think, we are actually quite multinational here in Australia. But we don't have so many people in Europe speak many different languages. And of course, a lot of Americans are bilingual and they can speak Spanish and English. Australians are dummies. Because unless you have a family background, then we don't have that additional influence. So even though we've got so many different languages here in Australia, because we don't share borders with any other countries, we are very much a one language country. And it's only in the last 20, 30 years that people suddenly went, hey, we should maybe start trying to teach children a language in primary school when the brain paths are still forming and when they're actually able to absorb it better, rather than trying to start teaching them a language in grade 7. That's the thing. For Australians, we find it, you know, we're like, oh, wow, you know, this person knows 3 languages, 4 languages. But it's just kind of, we're unique here. One of my best friends married a Russian guy. He was studying marine biology, and her daughter was bilingual when she started talking, which, you know, you don't see a lot of that in Australia. And I just taught her a little bit of Japanese just for the fun of it to see how she responded. And because she had that bilingual stuff going on already, she picked it up faster than any adult I've ever seen, any other child I've ever seen. Whereas, you know, when you're trying to teach a language to a 12-year-old, it's hard, because in Australia we don't have so many, unless you are from a, you know, an Italian family that speaks Italian at home, or a Chinese family or Malaysian family or whatever that speaks their language at home. We just don't have that. I think that's one of the sad things here about Australia, that we don't have that whole bilingual thing going on. I shared an office with a lady from Colombia, and because like I did learn a bit of French in grade 7 and 8, but my main language has always been Japanese. So I was, you know, getting her to teach me Spanish, just, you know, at the very least, so that when she got to work, I could greet her in Spanish. But it was a struggle for me, because it was not something that I had those pathways formed with at an early age. Scary thing is, I can understand that. Je suis américaine, je parle anglais, français et un petit espagnol. My sister still speaks a lot of French. She did French right through to grade 10. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Yes, I learned that one. Oh, of course. See, I keep forgetting about Acadians. Yes, Brian, thank you. The squirrels are loose. Let's get back to Daniel. I didn't have my usual reminder people there, so yes, you're so right.
I only know what Malaya told me, right? I never personally met Cody. I was there for the whole custody thing with Lily and Jack, and between her and Cody, I was there for that. So these are all the experiences I have with Malaya. I don't have any experiences with Cody. I've never met him. I've never seen him.
And so when you're
Never met him, never seen him, but gonna crap all over him because he just feels so insecure. Yeah, the squirrels are seriously loose, Summer Breeze. Again, it happens. See, I need to train people to... It just takes someone to just give me a quick reminder. Get back on track. And yeah, welcome in Brian as well. Good thing there's at least one person here to get us back in line.
saying this, I can relate because I had to pull myself back and realize that the relationship I was in was not who I like what like he didn't do to me, but yet I referenced that relationship for probably about the same time, a good year, right?
Yeah, it was learned.
What Sunny's talking about there, I did edit out a lot of what she was saying because it was a lot of her personal stuff, and part of that is I don't feel comfortable about broadcasting her personal stuff on my channel, even though she's put it out there, but also because it's I wanted to focus still on Jack and Lily. So that's what she's referring to. She's referring to her own personal experiences, but I left that little bit in there just to carry on from, to give you context.
Trauma. I mean, you spent so much time in trauma. It formed who you were, right?
Correct.
And I exactly, I understand that, but I had to keep reframing it in a way where, Malaya, I'm not Cody.
Not Cody.
There you have it. I got it on my iPad and I didn't send it across. Nuts. I will edit it and put it in for tomorrow. Straight up, I'm not Cody. Yeah, it is very, very much the I had to reframe it. I had to keep reframing it in a way where, Malaya, I'm not Cody. He's definitely been spending a lot of time in therapy. But again, or as we would say, no shit, Sherlock. Again, he's showing his insecurities. He wants to crap all over Cody because he feels insecure. He really does. The irony is that Malaya and Cody are past history. Done and dusted. Cody wasn't a part of Malaya's life. He wasn't a part of the children's life. Oh yeah, I get that. That you do come out of relationships damaged, and that you do need reassurances with, you know, I'm not that person that hurt you. But Daniel's weaponizing that. He's taken on something that should be a healthy part of a new relationship in terms of giving reassurances of whatever it was that went wrong with your last relationship. I'm not going to do that to you. But he's weaponized it because he is insecure. He's jealous of Cody. And look, I think it's pretty clear that we can see that Malaya has attachment issues. She went from Cody to dating some other guy and to Daniel pretty quickly. She was living with Daniel within 2 weeks of meeting him. And then after Lily and Jack went missing, she formed the attachment with Cheryl. And from what we're hearing, she was spending most of her time at Cheryl's place. But she's also moved on, and I think this current guy is like her second partner since the children went missing. So I can understand that there would have been issues there to work through. But I think definitely Daniel was weaponizing that. So rather than being reassuring with Malaya, rather than helping her to adjust to her situation, he's weaponized it instead. Definitely. And I think this is where, when you hear the way he talks about Cody, I think this explains a lot of his relationship with Lily and Jack. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely got attachment issues. And I think, like I said in my video the other day, and if anyone hasn't watched it, I did put out a video where I was talking about trauma, complex trauma, and how it fits in with this case and with Maddie's case. And it is worth a watch because it does give you some perspectives. I think we're definitely seeing attachment issues with Malaya. And I think a lot of those issues probably stem from her childhood. I don't think she had a overly secure childhood. I mean, heck, Henry ended up getting arrested for a big drug scam thing, and we've been told that he was an alcoholic. Henry and Cindy's marriage was clearly over pretty quickly. So I think, Malaya definitely has attachment issues stemming from her childhood. Anyway, a little bit more. Hey, what's up? Good to see you in here.
Like I'm not him.
Mhm.
Like I don't abuse women. I don't.
Really, Daniel? I'm not Cody. I don't abuse women. In his mind, he probably doesn't consider holding someone down and taking their phone off them abuse, or pushing them against the wall. And they're the minimized versions that Malaya shared with people. Because when a person is in a relationship where there's abuse, that comes with shame. So they don't share the really bad things. They minimize it. So he's basically deflecting here. we've not heard anything in terms of actual abuse from Cody. We know the relationship went belly up. We know that something wasn't right after Jack was born. But we don't know if what Daniel's saying here is just him basically deflecting. Don't look at me, look at him. But honestly, the height of him, I never abuse women. Note here, with the denial, it's a very general denial. Because this is what you get in terms of deflection. You get it in very general terms. He didn't say, I never abused Malaya. He says, I don't abuse women. And the fact that he stumbles over the sentence, he can't even say the sentence straight through. Sorry, just checking out what Amira's doing. She's having a bit of a waddle through the kitchen, hopefully just for a drink. Exactly. They don't just sit there and go, hey, let's just put some charges on you, Daniel. We haven't got any proof, but let's put some charges on you. Yep. Always shifting the blame. Always deflecting. It's how he, it's how he rolls. Yeah. And I believe that is something that we've seen with both Jen and Malaya. Which, again, I've discussed a lot of that in my video the other day, so I won't go right down that road. Exactly. It's not just that Malaya has spoken about this sort of thing. We heard it from Taylor, and there was another girlfriend. Yep, he does. He lies so much he's going to step on his own nose. Oh, dear.
I'm not a bad person, like the internet portrays me to be. And coming back to where I know at the start, like I was in like a lot of chats and trying to answer messages, and it came across bad. And I made up like the KFC reference. And, because I was like mad on the inside, because I had my whole world ripped apart. And I had to really, come to reality where I had to change my entire life.
Had to come to reality. No, you had to reinvent reality, Daniel. Again, he's playing the victim. Look at me, my whole world was ripped apart. That's why I said all those things. It wasn't because I was trying to lie and deflect from the situation. It wasn't because I was one of 3 people that was on the property when these children went missing, and that I seemed to be the most likely person to have caused their disappearance. No, it's about poor Daniel. He was being targeted. Yeah, he just keeps playing the victim. Honestly, yeah. I have photos of Jack, Daniel, that show me that you're not this saint that you want people to believe. If I were to go through my photos of Lily and Jack now, there are photos that do not paint you in a good light, Daniel. Yeah. For the most part, that can be a tricky one, though. But I'll leave that for another day. But certainly in Daniel's case, that him saying it, the way he's saying it, the context that it's said in, yeah.
Like, I wasn't a bad person before. I just lacked that emotional ability to, see things from an emotional aspect. It was always a logical aspect, right?
But yes, what he's saying here is, I lack empathy. I wasn't a bad person before. That does stand out to me. I think somewhere very, very deep buried in his psyche is a recognition of the fact that he has crossed a line somehow. And he doesn't want to consider himself as being a bad person. And that's why we get the, I wasn't a bad person before. He's setting a point in time. Before this point in time, I wasn't a bad person. But this whole thing of looking at things from an emotional aspect as opposed to a logical aspect. Again, he's not referring to emotional things here. He's not talking about empathy. He's talking about lack of emotional regulation. Basically, an inability to control your anger. Like shoving someone against the wall. He doesn't mean emotional in terms of empathy. He's talking about emotional dysregulation. That is why they made him do an anger management course. I think too, though, he rationalizes things because he's admitted that he was a heavy user before the children went missing. But in his mind, there's nothing bad about that. Especially now, because now he justifies it, saying that it's because he has ADHD and he uses it to treat his ADHD. Well, guess what? I've got ADHD and I've got no substance abuse issues. Yeah, it is 100% emotional dysregulation. He cannot control his anger. But he's not going to admit to that. It sounds better if you can twist it and say that you were looking at things in a logical way instead of an emotional way and completely skim over what exactly you're talking about. That's the problem. It's a full picture. It's not just doing anger management. It's about owning their actions, and he's not doing that. Him saying, I've never abused women, or I don't abuse women. Oh, for sure. People with, when you are neurodivergent, you are far more susceptible to addiction, to substance abuse issues. But Daniel, again, is using it as an excuse. But there's so many of us out here who aren't like Daniel. But I'm also going to say I don't believe that he has ADHD. Because usually people with ADHD have empathy. He's a narcissist. He's not capable of empathy. I do think that the anger is at the base of all this. Anger and possibly rugs. I think they probably picked something up for Daniel while they were in town. And things went pear-shaped. And because he cannot control his anger, I think that something bad happened. I just hope that whoever his therapist is can see through all the BS, because he's such a chameleon. He can adapt. I mean, we've listened to him so many times where he's done the Google stuff. His explanation of how polygraphs work. Even now his expertise on ADHD, which I just want to say he knows jack shit. Sorry, I really need to reel that in, don't I? He thinks they don't affect him. He has said that. He's got no understanding whatsoever. Yep. And that's the other thing. If he truly has had a diagnosis of ADHD, then I can guarantee that he did not disclose to whoever it was that made the diagnosis that he was using. And I don't for 1 minute believe that he stopped using before Jack and Lily went missing. Like, yeah. Sorry, just reading people's comments again, because there's some really good comments. Yeah, I think, at this point in time, we're all a bit pissed with Daniel. Just the constant deflection, the pushing the blame elsewhere. So true. And there's different impacts as well, or different precursors in terms of what happened to Lily and Jack wasn't about some sort of mental health crisis that Daniel was going through that was nothing, something that just happened and wasn't at the core of who he was. What happened to Lily and Jack, I believe, is about Daniel and his issues. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that properly, but it's about his anger issues, his emotional dysregulation, things that are a permanent part of him that he chose not to change. It's for him, it comes down to more to character than decisions. Yes, the decisions happened, but I think his decisions come from his character. Because to me, he comes across as being arrogant. He comes across as being narcissistic. Their character flaws that lead to poor decisions. Don't forget too, he was couch surfing. So, very convenient if you're couch surfing to suddenly meet a girlfriend who can give you somewhere to live until you clash with her grandmother and get booted out the door. He is 100%. And again, look, I'm not excusing Malaya. She was on that property. She still shared the narrative. She made a lot of choices that were the wrong choices. But at the end of the day, Daniel, he's something completely unique. Exactly. The truth never changes. Yeah, it is ingrained, that's for sure. I think it's the chameleon. I think in terms of therapy, maybe at a deeper level, he does understand himself. But he also knows how to talk the talk. So, and I don't think Daniel would ever accept any of the negative traits of his as actually being relating to him. So anything that's come out in therapy that in his mind is slightly negative, he'd probably talk the talk, but he would never actually take it on board. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that properly. I agree with you. I think Janie got caught in a very difficult situation. And I think what we see with Janie quite often there is that cognitive dissonance. There is something so deeply ingrained in her that makes her protect her son, even though she knows he's a POS. Even at the expense of not seeing her grandchildren. But I still believe that the leakage from Janie, I believe that comes from that internal struggle. That there's that part of her that wishes she could do the right thing. That's okay, Summer Breeze. You're here. It's all good. Yeah, Janie's voice grates on me. There's a lot of things about Janie that grate on me. But I can also see, this is something that I struggled with because of a lot of the things that Janie has said. But you can see how much she cares about her dog. And you can see that she cares about her real grandchildren. See, Janie doesn't come across to me as a narcissist like Daniel is. And it's not me defending her because, she's made her choice. But I do think that there's some serious cognitive dissonance happening there and that she has struggled with the situation. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. He mimics. And you are right. A therapist who actually knows their job would actually be able to see if he's just parroting what he thinks he should say as opposed to if he's actually taking any of it on board. Oh yeah, he definitely wants to be he wants to be liked. And yeah, I do think there probably is some level of shame there for him. But the narcissism, that's what comes out the strongest for me. I sense that as well. I do feel like there is some overcompensating by Janie when she talks about both her boys. And I think there is some hurt there in Janie's past. I think we so readily, with cases like this, judge people by snapshots of who they are. And I think a lot of people have ignored those other things that Janie has showed, and instead have painted her 100% as a villain. And it's not black and white. I think Janie's very rough around the edges. I think Janie is damaged emotionally. But I can't go as far to say that she's a bad person. And I know there's going to be people that would disagree with me on that. But what I see is someone who does have a strong sense of right or wrong, but that is overpowered by her need to protect her children. And the reason Janie has been getting so upset so often is that whole dilemma of the situation she's in. I would love to know what sort of person Janie would be if we came across her if this had never happened. Look, I don't know who you are, Mama Chipmunk, but I'm sorry. You don't fit here on my channel. I cannot tolerate people coming in and bullying anyone on my channel. I'm very reluctant to block people. But the moment someone comes in and starts bullying one of my subscribers, I'm going to block them. I think Janie will always have that shield up. I think she will I don't know why we have these trolls suddenly turning up. They're not welcome. Not welcome at all. Quite possible. Quite possible. I do. I think BTTV had to head out, and doesn't look like Bonza's made it in here either. I blocked Mama Chipmunk after you, so Mama Chipmunk's gone for good, and the other one that turned up, John Jingle, they're blocked as well. We're on it. We've got them. With the current bullying, as much as I would appreciate adding more mods to my channel, with the current bullying that is happening, I'm happy to just, for now, not add anyone else as mods because I'm not making anyone else a target. And I apologise to my existing mods that you are being bullied. I apologise to subscribers who are being bullied. Yeah, they do. And let's carry on. I wanted to just, I do want to stop before he starts talking about the ADHD BS. So I'm just looking at the transcript, seeing where I'm at. Because it's already 2.5 hours. And the squirrels have been well and truly loose today. So I think probably where we're at in terms of the conversation with Daniel is probably a good place to start up again tomorrow. Yeah, I think I'll wrap it up there. I'll come back to this part of it tomorrow. We can listen a bit more to Daniel doing his psychobabble before we get on to him and his self-treatment for ADHD and his claim that narcissism and ADHD go hand in hand, which I'm just going to say, complete utter BS. Yeah, good night, Brian. Thank you for keeping me on track. I do sometimes, the squirrels get loose and I do need reminders occasionally. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there because it has been 2.5 hours. I need some lunch and I think I've just lost focus. So thank you for coming in. I appreciate everyone coming in. Please hit the like button on your way out. It really helps immensely and it is definitely something that is very much appreciated right now. Please do check out some of my other videos that I've been putting out and hit like with them. And if you're new here, please subscribe. And if you're listening on replay or if you're just listening here and you want to go and make some comments, please do. So on that note, thank you and I'll catch you in the next one.